Truth is, we don't really know everything about the universe, but we try. And in trying so we come across many things that can't really be seen. But if it can be seen, what makes us believe in them? Is dark matter, dark energy, gravitons, vibrating strings, extra dimensions, multiverse, and so on and on. But do they really exist? And should you believe in them? Let's consider the current state of the universe. Physicists argue that a stunning 95% of it cannot be seen. And this raises a lot of questions. The most important of which is that, is it really better to consider the possibility that the universe is almost filled with stuff we haven't actually observed? Or is there any other way by which the universe works just fine but doesn't require such a radical shift in our beliefs? Historically though, there have been many things that were thought to be true even though there was no direct evidence for them. Some of them turned out to be true, like antimatter, or very recently the Higgs boson. But some others did not celebrate the same fate. The one that comes to my mind is the ether. It was a medium through which light was supposed to travel. There was a time when this idea was really popular, mainly because people found it really difficult to comprehend that light, which was supposed to be a wave, could travel without a medium. But later experiments showed that there was no need for such a medium to exist, and so it quickly got overruled. And this example really shows how science works. However smart an idea may seem, it has to agree with observations, and if not, it must be wrong. But more importantly, even if we can't see something directly, there are other ways of verifying its existence. After all, what we can see is clearly not all that there exists. And so now we have examples of both things believed to be true turning out real and not so real. And thus what matters is not the belief itself, but the credence we can have on it. And how much credence we can put on an idea depends upon the observations and evidence that point for or against that idea. Now let's turn our attention back to the things that we started with. Dark matter, dark energy, gravitons, vibrating strings, and other such hypothetical ideas. There are many reasons to believe in them. Sometimes it is observations, sometimes it is math that points to their existence, or sometimes there's just philosophical reasons. We think dark matter exists because if not, then many things in the universe won't make sense. Because normal matter alone can only account for a small portion of gravity that we observe to play out in the universe. Especially in galaxy dynamics, where the speeds of rotation is much faster than what we would expect. And so an invisible form of matter must exist that would account for the missing source of gravity. Now people have come up with alternative explanations, such as the one where the laws of gravity are modified to account for the missing gravity. But these ideas usually fall short in explaining other phenomena that in the presence of dark matter would not need any further justification, like gravitational lensing from a seemingly empty region of space. And so in the race to explain the missing gravity problem, dark matter stands far ahead of all the other explanations. However, we can't see it because it reacts really weakly and probably only through gravity. A kind of similar story follows for dark energy. In the 1990s, we found out that the rate of expansion of the universe is accelerating. And that was a real shock, because what you would expect is that since the Big Bang, gravity would be pulling things together, because this is what gravity does. And so the expansion rate of the universe should slow down. But this is not what we observe. Rather, something is acting against gravity by pulling the universe apart. Dark energy is supposed to be that thing. The real problem is not whether or not dark energy exists. We know it does. But rather, what actually is it? Some say that it is the energy inherent to space itself, and that works to the extent that we know of, but it is certainly not the only possibility. The story for gravitons and most of the things that are going to be followed is vastly different to the ones that we talked about, because these are not things that are coming out of some observations. Rather, these are things that are coming out of theory, and depending upon who you ask, you can get vastly different view on their existence. You know, however weird the quantum word may seem, it is fundamentally how the word operates. And yet, we don't know how gravity would play out at those length scales. However, continuous efforts are being made by quantum gravity theories. And most of these theories include a particle or quantum of the gravitational force, the graviton. Do they really exist? Well, there are two things that you could consider. First, we don't yet have a complete theory of quantum gravity. And second, that it would most probably not be possible to detect one. In theory you can, in practice, no. Now moving on from particles, there's also this idea that the most fundamental building blocks of the universe are not particles but are vibrating strings that just look like particles when you see them from afar. The existence of vibrating strings may seem unintuitive, but the theory that predicts them comes really close to being one of the most powerful theories ever. It could even be the theory of everything, and so it is possible that the world is really composed of tiny vibrating strings. No evidence though. And in addition to these vibrating strings, the theory also requires extra dimensions, and not just 1 or 2 extra dimensions, but a total of 10 or 11, depending upon which one you're talking about. And the different arrangements of these extra dimensions could lead to vastly different universes. One of the things said about string theory is that it might as well be able to describe not just our universe, but every single possible one, which, depending upon how you look at it, is both fantastic and unacceptable at the same time. And yeah, supersymmetric particles, those are also required. When you put things this way, it might seem a lot to take in, but the theory works. In theory. Whether or not the universe truly is like that, we don't know. And neither supersymmetric particles nor extra dimensions are yet discovered, and so we'll have to wait for that. Let's see what happens. And then there comes these ideas that are almost philosophical in reasoning, like the multiverse or simulated universes. Even though there are versions of the multiverse that are coming out of theory, there is no way for their validation. The arguments for these ideas usually involve a lot more philosophical arguments than scientific ones. There is logic and reasoning, but no certainty. So, do all of these things that we talked about truly exist? No one knows for sure, but some are more likely to exist than others, and we'll know eventually. And just so I can say, the things that I talked about aren't the only things that we think might exist but haven't seen. There's also things like inflation or cyclic universes or warp drive, wormholes, and a million other things. Obviously, not all of these ideas would remain in the ultimate theory. However, we don't know the complete truth. Ideas are all that we have. And it is these ideas that ultimately make science fascinating. And even though a lot of them would turn out false by observations or better alternatives, some of them would inevitably be true. And these are the ideas because of which it's all worth it. Because these make us go on an everlasting adventure filled with passion and fascination for nothing but science and truth. Thanks for watching.